Video games have come a long way since their humble beginnings, and modern games have proven to be the ultimate amalgamation of art and technology. Games use techniques like motion-captured animations, photogrammetry-based textures, and ray-traced lighting to deliver fictional vistas that don't look too different from real life. But for all of the advancements in graphics rendering, games still have a long way to go when it comes to imitating the functioning of real life. Games are guilty of featuring some completely nonsensical logic that can be frustrating and hilarious at the same time, and this feature will run down 10 such instances. Characters taking hundreds of bullets in gameplay but dying from a single shot in a cutscene. Most action-adventure games are guilty of featuring this nonsensical logic. We often see that your ally can easily take hundreds upon hundreds of bullets to the chest without batting an eye, but that very same character will die from a single grazed bullet in a cutscene. Developers intentionally choose to make AI companions invincible to enemy bullets because the programming logic driving these character bots isn't sophisticated enough to make its way through entire rooms filled with enemies, but hopefully that will change in the near future, which will mark the end of this particular ludonarrative dissonance. Some giant enemies will go down easily, while other regular-sized enemies pose a mortal threat to your existence. This particular issue is pretty commonplace in RPGs, where an enemy's strength level and health points indicate how tough fighting them is going to be. Common logic suggests that a bigger enemy, like a golem, would be exceptionally harder to take down than a regular skeleton who can barely walk straight, let alone swing a sword with all that might. But that's very possible in games like Dark Souls, where a giant enemy in an early game area will be much easier to take down than a cannon fodder enemy in a late game area. Dealing with this nonsensical game logic can be frustrating, but it's undoubtedly funny as well. Protagonists are acrobatic wonders with infinite stamina. Ever since Uncharted burst onto the scene with its impressive parkour-based gameplay, most action-adventure games have included platforming elements on some level that enable players to scale cliffs, swing on poles, and jump across huge gaps for minutes on end without breaking a sweat. How is it possible that literally every action-adventure protagonist is an acrobatic wonder who can complete such crazy platforming challenges without missing a jump? But the harder pill to swallow here is how these characters can make those perfect jumps through large gaps and swing from one pole to the next without building any prior momentum or run-ups. This was not much of an issue with PS2 releases, but ever since auto-acceleration and highly assisted platforming have become an industry norm, this particular problem continues to crop up in many modern AAA releases. Ironic, but it is what it is. Indestructible obstructions blocking your way. Oh no, not another lonely stone blocking my way. Alas, I must make a lengthy detour and circle around this particular door to find another conveniently placed entrance at the end of it all and continue the journey. These must be the thoughts of every video game character whenever they come across a weird but indestructible set prop blocking the direct path to the next area. These characters can bring down entire squadrons of enemies, take on giant bosses, and scale seemingly unconquerable cliffs. But they can't push a simple object that's blocking their path. It's high time that developers stop using this video game logic to keep level traversal interesting, because it's starting to feel really redundant now. Carrying the equivalent of a shop in your inventory. Developers generally use limited inventory spaces to force players to make conscious decisions about what to use and what to leave behind for good. Survival horror games like Resident Evil 2 do a good job of aggregating how much someone would realistically be able to carry in such a situation. But inventory systems in most RPGs blow it out of proportion to such a degree that it becomes absolutely comical. Your character in Skyrim only has a few small pouches and a horse mount to store their goods, but they can carry treasure chests worth of gold and food that's more than enough to feed an entire family for days. And that's all on top of the heavy weapons, armor sets, and potions in your inventory. How it's all possible from a logical perspective is simply beyond me. Having special vision or scanning enemies through walls. Stealth games give players plenty of options to efficiently survey their surroundings and make plans on how to best proceed without alerting anyone. And one of the most common and arguably most useful tools is having special vision, which allows you to see enemy presence through walls. It's understandable when Batman or Sam Fisher from the Third Echelon uses such equipment in their adventures, but when a regular person like Joel uses his ears to pinpoint the exact location of zombies in surrounding rooms, it's definitely stretching the limits of one's imagination. Enemies failing to notice their missing comrades. This is yet another point that most, if not all, stealth games are guilty of. You see a group of guards patrolling an area, and once a guard has been left to their own devices, you quickly dispatch them and maybe even hide their body in a convenient spot. But the issue arises when the other guards in the area aren't even suspicious of any missing personnel and continue patrolling like nothing really happened. While this is generally a conscious decision from the developer so as to make sneaking around and knocking guards relatively easy for the player, it is definitely hilarious when you compare it to how alert and conscious a real-life guard would be. Double jumps. Is it even possible? Many characters in platforming games have the ability to make another swift hop after a jump, which is called a double jump in general speaking terms. Some characters have special boots that enable this functionality, while other characters are able to perform this feat without the help of any special equipment. And to this we ask, is this even possible with the laws of physics that we know and follow? The short and true answer is a staunch no, which makes us scratch our heads as to why so many developers continue to feature such double jumps in AAA games at all. Hide behind cover and see the health bar going back up. Ever since Halo Combat Evolved featured recharging shields, first- and third-person shooters quickly rushed to make recharging health a standard practice within the industry. How it all works is whenever you take a ton of damage, you simply hide behind cover and see the damage undo itself, allowing you to rinse and repeat this tactic until the credits eventually roll. It's a rather convenient implementation for hit-scan-based weapons that we find in the likes of Call of Duty, and it also allows developers to create absolutely thrilling firefights that don't have to compromise on a spectacle for game balance. But it's obviously far from realistic, and what's baffling is that most games don't even bother to explain how we're able to undo all of this damage without the use of any medicine or treatment. Fun fact, the red and brown streaks that appear around the screen in Uncharted games aren't indicative of Drake's dwindling health bar, but are a representation of his luck running out. Once it reaches its peak, Nathan will take a single hit and go down for good. Deep wounds are healed within moments. As a continuation of the previous point, games that don't feature completely regenerating health bars instead have systems that allow you to heal dangerous wounds within seconds. Take for instance Far Cry 2, where animations for recovering health can range from spewing antiseptic on a wound to using a knife to pop out a bullet from the flesh and much more. It certainly looks cool to a degree, but it doesn't really even remotely resemble how wounds are treated in real life, where it would be impossible to heal such dangerous wounds and be back on your feet in such a short span of time. That's all for now. If you enjoy what you saw, please hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, now is a great time to subscribe. We upload brand new videos every single day. After subscribing, don't forget to enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you next time, right here on GamingBolt.